Picture this. You're at a party. Music's playing, everyone's laughing, drinks are flowing. Someone hands you a glass and you say, "No thanks, I'm good." And suddenly, the room shifts. People look at you like you just said something strange. Come on, just one drink. Are you sick or something? Why are you being so boring? If this sounds familiar, this video is for you. And if you're the one asking those questions, stay with me, because what I'm about to share might completely change how you see that friend who always says no. Now, most people assume that someone who doesn't drink is either religious, on medication, or a recovering addict. And sure, those are valid reasons. But there's a whole other group of people that nobody talks about. People who simply don't want to. Not because someone told them not to, not because a doctor warned them, but because something inside their brain, something in their wiring, makes them genuinely uninterested. And today, we're going to unpack exactly what that something is. Let's start with what actually happens in that moment at the party. When someone offers you a drink and the group expects you to say yes, you're facing what psychologists call peer pressure. We all know what peer pressure is, but here's what most people don't realize. Resisting it, especially in a relaxed social setting where there's no obvious danger, is actually one of the hardest things for the human brain to do. And here's why. We are wired for belonging, literally. Our ancestors survived because they stayed with the group. Saying no to the group, even over something as small as a drink, triggers a subtle fear response in the brain. Your amygdala, the part responsible for detecting social threats, sends a signal that basically says, "Hey, you're about to be different." That might mean rejection. Most people feel that signal and give in. They take the drink, not because they want it, but because the discomfort of standing out feels worse than the taste of alcohol. But some people don't give in. And this is where it gets interesting. Psychologists use a concept called locus of control. It was developed by Julian Rotter back in the 1950s, and it describes where you believe control of your life comes from. People with an external locus of control tend to think their choices are shaped by the environment, by other people, by circumstances. But people with a strong internal locus of control operate from a completely different place. They have what you might call an inner compass. When the room says drink, their brain says, "But do I actually want to?" And if the answer is no, that's it. The social noise doesn't override the internal signal. It's not stubbornness, it's clarity. Now, let's go a layer deeper, into the brain itself. There's a region right behind your forehead called the prefrontal cortex. Think of it as your brain's CEO. It handles planning, decision-making, impulse control, and long-term thinking. In some people, this area is more active than average, and that changes everything. Because when someone with a highly active prefrontal cortex is offered a drink, their brain doesn't just process the moment, it runs a quick simulation. If I drink now, how will I feel in 2 hours? Tomorrow morning? Will I be able to focus on what I need to do? It's not overthinking, it's foresight. Studies in cognitive neuroscience have shown that individuals with stronger prefrontal activity are significantly better at delaying gratification. That is exactly what's happening here. They're not missing out on fun, they're calculating whether the fun is worth the cost. And speaking of cost, let me introduce you to a concept that most people never think about: emotional opportunity costs. In economics, opportunity cost means what you give up when you choose one thing over another. Now apply that to emotions. That one night of drinking might feel great in the moment, but what about the anxiety the next morning, the foggy head, the lost energy, the money spent? People who don't drink often do this math automatically. They're not judging you for drinking. They're just aware that for them, personally, the trade-off doesn't add up. The short-term pleasure isn't worth the long-term withdrawal from their emotional bank account. Here's another piece of the puzzle that rarely gets discussed: sensory sensitivity. Dr. Elaine Aron, a research psychologist, introduced the concept of the highly sensitive person. About 15 to 20% of the population falls into this category. These are people whose nervous systems process stimuli more deeply. Sounds are louder, emotions hit harder, environments feel more intense. Now imagine what alcohol does to someone like this. For most people, a couple of drinks lowers inhibitions and creates a feeling of relaxation. But for a highly sensitive person, that same alcohol can feel like chaos. The loss of control isn't fun, it's disorienting. Their finely tuned system gets flooded, and instead of feeling free, they feel overwhelmed. So when they say no to a drink, they're not being difficult. They're protecting a system that runs at higher resolution than most. And this connects to something really important: the need for mental clarity. Think of your mind as a house. You've arranged everything carefully: your thoughts, your emotions, your sense of self. Everything has its place. Now imagine someone walks in uninvited and starts moving furniture around. That's what alcohol feels like for these people. It's not a guest they invited, it's an intruder. And the feeling of waking up in a house where nothing is where you left it is deeply uncomfortable for someone who values being in full control of their inner world. This isn't about being uptight, it's about having a deep relationship with your own consciousness and not wanting anything to interfere with that. Now, here's where the brain chemistry gets really fascinating. Let's talk about dopamine. Dopamine is often called the feel-good neurotransmitter, but it's more accurate to call it the seeking chemical. It drives you toward things that promise reward. Here's the thing though, not everyone's dopamine system works the same way. Some people need big, intense stimuli to feel satisfied: loud music, strong drinks, wild experiences. But others have a system calibrated differently: a deep conversation with a good friend, a quiet evening with a book, a walk at sunset. These things produce enough dopamine for them to feel genuinely content. Research from Vanderbilt University found that differences in dopamine receptor density can significantly affect how much stimulation a person needs to feel pleasure. So the next time someone says they'd rather have tea than tequila, understand that their brain is literally wired to enjoy it more. They're not boring. Their reward system just doesn't need fireworks to feel alive. There's one more thing I want to talk about, and I think it might be the most powerful one: observational learning. Albert Bandura, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, showed that humans don't need to experience something directly to learn from it. We learn by watching others. And people who choose not to drink have often watched very carefully. Maybe they saw a family member lose control. Maybe they watched a friend damage a relationship after one too many nights out. Maybe they saw someone they respected slowly lose themselves to a habit that started as just social drinking. They didn't need to touch the fire to know it burns. Their mirror neurons did the work. They observed, they processed, and they made a quiet decision, without drama, but with absolute conviction. So let's bring all of this together. The person at the party who says no thanks to a drink isn't broken. They're not scared, boring, or judging you. Their brain is wired with a strong internal compass. Their prefrontal cortex is running long-term calculations while everyone else is running on impulse. Their nervous system processes the world at a deeper level. They value the clarity of their own mind like you'd value the safety of your own home. They've done the emotional math, and the numbers simply don't work out. Their dopamine system finds reward in simpler, quieter things, and they've learned from watching what alcohol can do to people without needing to live through it themselves. That's not weakness. That is a rare combination of self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and neurological depth. If you're that person, hear this clearly. There is nothing wrong with you. You're not missing out. You're not less fun. You're not a lesser version of anyone at that party. You are someone who knows themselves well enough to make choices that align with who they actually are, not who the room wants them to be. And that kind of honesty, that kind of quiet courage is something no drink could ever give you. And if you're on the other side, if you're the one who enjoys a drink and you have a friend who doesn't, now you understand a little better what's going on behind that simple no thanks. Don't push them. Don't question them. Just respect it. Because behind that two-word answer is an entire architecture of thought, feeling, and self-knowledge that deserves your respect. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And sometimes becoming who you truly are means standing in a room full of noise and choosing your own silence, choosing yourself. If this video helped you see things differently, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people find this. If you're new here and this kind of content speaks to you, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Are you someone who says no? Or have you been the one asking why? Tell me your story. I'll see you in the next one.